Greetings, Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance. And today we continue our Talisman series, but more importantly, we continue building something that every serious player needs to understand, not just which talisman is better, but how talismans change the way your hero performs from fight to fight. Because that's the real power behind this system. Now, you may already be familiar with some of our previous episodes, especially for heroes that received a second talisman over the past year: Peach, Folio, Hus, Somna, Aiden, Electra, Polaris, Berna. We've covered them, and if you missed those, they're on the channel waiting for you. But this time, we're going deeper. We're going faction by faction, and we're starting now with nature heroes. And the idea here is simple: we don't rush, we don't generalize. We break each hero down properly, and only at the end of the faction do we step back and look at the bigger picture. And as always, one important detail before we start: when we talk about talismans, we always mention the fixed stat first, and the variable stat second. And that second stat, that's where the real optimization happens. That's where your metacubes go, and that's what separates a decent build from a great one. Because talismans are different. Everything else in your hero is locked once you build it. Skins, glyphs, artifacts, once they're done, they're done. But talismans are flexible. They are the only real tool you have to adapt your hero depending on the fight. And that means they can change everything. Sometimes for the better. Sometimes for the worse. So today, we're looking at Mushy and Shroom. And this is a very interesting hero to start with, because Mushy doesn't behave like a typical tank. She sits in that strange space where she absorbs damage, but at the same time scales into a real damage threat, especially as fights go longer. And that's exactly why her talisman choice matters so much. Let's start with the first one, the Talisman of Mycelium. This talisman gives intelligence as the main stat, and armor as the secondary. And immediately you can see the direction here. Intelligence means magic attack, which directly boosts Mushy's damage and scaling, and armor gives her protection against physical attackers. So this talisman is clearly designed to help her survive against physical teams while also increasing her offensive output. Now, the second option, the Talisman of Fungi, takes a completely different approach. Instead of raw magic attack, it gives magic critical hit chance, combined with toughness. So now we're not increasing base damage directly. We're shifting into creep potential, while also reducing incoming critical damage. So on paper, both talismans make sense. One is more stable, more consistent, stronger against physical damage. The other is more defensive in a different way, and potentially stronger against magic-based threats. But here's where we need to slow down and really think. Because Mushy's entire kit scales primarily with magic attack. That's the key. Every part of her performance, damage, pressure, presence in the fight, comes from that scaling. And when you compare the two talismans again, only one of them is directly feeding that strength. And that is the Talisman of Mycelium. That extra intelligence translates directly into more magic attack, and that translates into more impact across the entire fight. Not just survivability, not just one moment. But everything she does becomes stronger. Now yes, there is a trade-off. When you move away from the second talisman, you lose that balance of toughness and crit resistance, and that can make Mushy more vulnerable in certain situations, especially when facing strong magic teams that rely on burst or critical damage. And this is exactly where talismans become situational. Because if you are fighting physical attackers, the first talisman gives you everything you want: survivability through armor, and scaling through magic attack. It fits perfectly. But if you are facing mages, if you are facing teams that rely on magical pressure and crit scaling, then suddenly the second talisman becomes something you need to at least consider. And this is where most players make the mistake. They pick one, and they never change it. But talismans are not meant to be static. They are meant to be tested. They are meant to be adjusted. They are meant to respond to the fight in front of you. And that's why training is so important here. Because the difference between these two talismans is not theoretical, it's practical. You need to go in, test both, and see how Mushy behaves in real situations. Because sometimes, the result will surprise you. Now, if we're talking about overall preference, if we're talking about consistency across most fights, then yes, we lean towards the Talisman of Mycelium. Because it aligns directly with her kit. Because it gives stable value. Because it increases her impact in a way that you can feel in almost every fight. And also because it's accessible through the Eternal Frontier shop, which makes it easier for players to invest into. But again, and this is the most important part, there is no absolute answer. Only the right answer for the fight you are about to play. And that is the entire purpose of this series. Not to tell you what to use, but to help you understand why you are using it. So Guardians, now we want to hear from you. Do you stick with one talisman for Mushy? Or do you adapt depending on the opponent? Have you tested both? And did you see a difference? Let us know in the comments. And also tell us which hero you want us to cover next, because we are just getting started with nature, and there is still a lot to break down. We're going deeper. We're going smarter. And by the end of this series, you won't just equip talismans. You'll understand them. Stay tuned, stay sharp. And as always, salute and friendship.